it's Nimity here from All of the Good Things, and I'm here with Matt Heath from Make Your Change. Hi, Matt.
G'day, how's it going?
Yeah, good. So, Matt, I thought it'd be great to start by you telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey and what led you to make your change.
Look, I don't think there's any kind of one point. I grew up in the foothills of the Blue Mountains in Sydney. Definitely not a nature guy in terms of my upbringing. But I think as I started to go through my career and evolved, I think I started to tick those boxes and start to ask myself, what's next? Right. I went to Germany for a year, had a bit of a quarter life crisis, as some may say. I lived in a van, I moved around, I had all these experiences. And I think something that kind of kept coming back to me, which is what is really important. And for me, that was my niece and nephew, Bodhi and Ivy, and just thinking about how do I be a good uncle? It was this question.
How old are your niece and nephew?
8 and 5 at the moment. It's and I think, thinking about that, I guess in Germany they're a lot more politically active, and so started seeing people protesting for issues that they believed in, and it was like, oh hey, it's not just a work-life balance, there's also like contribution. When I came back to Sydney, that was right after the bushfires happened in 2019, and that was when I really started to go, hang on a second, I think I'm in a position where I'm young, I'm financially secure, I don't have a family or a mortgage, I actually can contribute. And so that's when I guess me and a mate sat down and we started to work out what can we do, and Make Your Change was it.
I think I can really relate to what you're saying there, that being a point in time that really made, I think, a lot of people question, okay, what on earth is going on here? This is this is a massive disaster, and we can see that there's things that we're doing that are causing this. So tell me a little bit about Make Your Change then. So what does Make Your Change do, and what's your role there?
Yeah, so our whole philosophy is around how do we go on the journey from being a disempowered kind of recipient of climate change, and how do we enable people to actually take action? Because I think what we often do is we look at this and go, well, we can't recycle our way out of the problem, or we can't keep cup our way out of the problem, and therefore we give up, without realizing that would be like an Olympic runner saying, well, running 5Ks isn't going to get me to the Olympics, so I'm not going to even bother. We need to be able to work out, where do we start and how do we keep that progress going? And Make Your Change is really around trying to use existing communities. So we work with particularly organizations and companies, but also community groups, churches, sports groups, whoever, to try and say, how do you find those people that are going to support you in that change, and then make it easier by creating guides, having sessions and follow up. We have a product called Climate Coaching, where you actually meet with people and someone can say, hey, is a plant-based diet actually a good thing for the planet? Or does flying make me a bad person? Because so much of this actually comes down to the psychology. It's human decisions that, underlie climate change. And so the more we understand why we make decisions, the more we can change those decisions to be better for us and the planet.
So that's really interesting to me, because there's so much information out there telling you what we should be doing and how we can be helping and what's the best thing to do. And sometimes it is conflicting. It can, of course, be overwhelming. And people then just sort of, to your point, they switch off. It's all too hard. I'll do my recycling and I'll switch my brain off to it. Can you give me an example of something that you've worked on with Make Your Change where you've actually felt like, yeah, wow, I feel like it's starting to work a little bit here?
One of them that stands out is we were delivering climate coaching to a university student in Queensland, and just seeing someone at that juncture of life where you're working out, who am I? What are the life decisions that I need to be making? And kind of wrestling with this idea of, actually, I'm just a small, young people are constantly told they're small. They're at the bottom of the food chain, oh, wait till you're older. What do you want to be when you grow up? And seeing through the course of those sessions that we had, that actually she was starting to take a leadership position, even just within her family or a community, but she was influencing, her 70-year-old grandma, her parents who come from what is typically known as a conservative part of Queensland. It made me realize that so often anything's impossible if you don't have the right help. And so I think Make Your Change is really about just giving that right help to people.
One of the things that I really like about what you're talking about, Matt, is that it's all about actually taking action, not just talking about stuff.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because most of the people that come to us, the first step they want to take is they go, tell me what I should read or educate me on what I should do. Yes. And my first thing that I say back to them is, the fact that you're reaching out means that you know enough to know that you should be doing something.
That leads me to ask about your other ventures.
Community Cupboard is the name of the idea, and we're just about to launch. And the idea is simple, which is that every time we give more money and power to corporates, things get worse. And we've seen, and we're starting to see that through the food industry, where farmers are getting ripped off and forced into practices that even they don't want to do, but commercially they're being forced into it. Consumers are saying, I want to eat healthier, I don't want to have plastic, and yet the options just aren't there. And so Community Cupboard basically was inspired by talking to a mate, realizing that, hang on, there is this whole network of being able to buy products that doesn't involve any corporates. It's all peer-to-peer and I'm like, how did we end up in a world where it's easier to buy drugs than good food? And so what I'm trying to do is correct that by basically enabling communities to set up plastic-free food stores in their church, in their school, in their co-working space, in their office, and make it so that way people can actually engage with healthy, planet-friendly food.
Such a great idea. And I'm really looking forward to all of the good things, having some plastic-free kitchen set up as part of that as well. And the other great thing that's coming up, of course, is the event on the 23rd of Feb.
That's going to be a really great event where we're going to be essentially trying to make it easier for people to kind of connect with others, whilst also getting inspired on how you can incorporate all these things that we know we should do into our daily lives. Tickets available on Humanitix and also on the Make Your Change website.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that event as well. And the first 10 people that sign up get a free artisan-made recycled elephant dung journal. So there you go.
So looking forward to handing those out. They look great. Yeah. Sarah from Plastic Free Southeast Asia is going to be there, and she's got an amazing story to tell as well.
Thanks, Matt. That's awesome. Thanks for coming along for a bit of a chat.
Yeah, thanks so much for the chat, Nim.